Second, before an official and what we so that you wisdom and in case
I got it.
the mandate is also delivered to inbox, the mandate can change the full details of the event. We read out on the 4th of September, we have usually one started opportunity and excitement. You know, is the not to be looking at very well number of meetings on the understand so many things. We see
எனக்கு எப்படி ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகும் இங்கிருந்து போறதானே இங்க வரும் கேட்கும் அங்கிருந்து பேசுறது தான் கேட்கும் இங்கிருந்து போறது எப்படி கேட்கும்
so please do down if you're doing it not in the flow. Then 16th with the next agreement about the
ஒரே நிமிஷம் நீ சொல்ல கரெக்ட் தான்
another 2 weeks actually time for our team for interaction and focus
இப்போ வராது பாரு
another 2 minutes
வராது
September we have another series opportunity and defense again we are want to bring us the things out of that again outstanding very well we are successfully out of that really season corporate great achiever from the college also to great others and we are here in the again and on 26th and 28th of September. Yeah, again, showing for HCL, discussing just and technology. We are again on kind of value. And it's a evening and voice of change. Letter and what we know very
relevant today when Mr. SWAMY asked me, past president of MMA, straight away I said, you please tell me the date, you tell me the time, we'll host it at MMA. It's indeed a privilege and honor for us to do this at MMA because this is an event which we should get involved and we should know what's happening. We should understand, sensitize all the people and thousands of people who are watching it online. Ladies and gentlemen, we have very high profile panel this evening to share and discuss and also share with you what's happening as an objective of Voice of Change, an event which is really taken around India for conveying the message which is very important. Please put your hands together. Welcome the distinguished guest of honor for this evening. To start with Srinivasan SWAMY, past president of MMA and also and director of RK-SWAMY Video. Then we have from IAA Voice of Change, Megha Tata, CEO of Cosmos, Maya, and also chairperson of Women Empowerment Committee of IAA. Come on, please. We have Geetanjali, master, partner, specialist, UNICEF. She is joining us online. Geetanjali, very warm welcome to you. We miss your presence here. Thank you for joining us online from New Delhi. In the panel, we immediately after the briefing by Geetanjali and Megha, there will be a panel moderated by Megha Tata. The distinguished panelists for this evening are Latha Menon, producer, director of Mindscreen Cinemas. Then Kumarappan, Mr. Kumarappan is Assistant Vice President, Marketing TAFE. Mr. Chockalingam, co-founder of Creative Director of Open Advertising. Then we also have Navneet, Virk, is a senior partner, creative director of RK-SWAMY Video. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm round of applause to the panel for this evening. All the viewers watching the program, as usual, if you have any question, Please share your question to the number which is flashed on your screen. We'll collate all of them and put it to the moderator. She will place it before the speakers. I'll only request you, your question should be focused on the theme what is discussed today. Before move on further, let me have the privilege of requesting Mr. Srinivasan K. Swamy. And Srinivasan Swamy doesn't need an introduction for this August gathering. And he is past president of MMA, president of IMA, president of International Association. He has done whatever you think is being the president of most of the organization. Great believer. This building, what is there today, credit goes to him. He was the chairman of the building committee. Under him directions, we made this beautiful building, which we are using it today. And now I request Mr. Swamy to please welcome and also deliver the introductory remarks. Over to you, Mr. Swamy.
Thank you, Captain Jigma, for your kind words. Friends of the dais, Ms. Megha Tata, who's the chairman of Women Empowerment Committee of IAA India chapter. Geetanjali Master, who's joining us from Delhi virtually. We have Evergreen Latha Menon, who's right here. Mr. Kumarappan, head of marketing at TAFE. Chocka, co-founder, creative director, open advertising. And of course, my dear colleague, Navneet. Friends, I'm very, very happy to see the women in the audience today. I'm happy to see them because the subject of voice of change has to be led by the women in this room. They're going to take back some messages from this wonderful panel, which actually must have multiplier effect in the society. From IAA perspective, I think this is God's an opportunity that we have so many ladies in this room who want to take this message forward. But our own initiative, IAA, started more than a decade ago when we initially partnered with Population First, a trust, an NGO in Bombay, which goes by the name of Ladli. And along with Ladli, we instituted a set of awards that actually promoted journalists who would write about gender equality. So any journalist who actually wrote an outstanding article which promoted gender equality was actually given the award. That's how IAA's first initiation was into this subject. As we moved forward, we discovered that there's a lot more things we can do, particularly in the area of communication. And therefore, in the year 2014, we had the first major seminar, which actually took on the subject head on, the role of advertising, okay, or depiction of women in advertising as it were at the time. That's about 9 years ago, 10 years ago. We also did a research at the time among the key stakeholders who are the marketers, the agencies, and the media people. And we discovered to our happiness at the time that all the stakeholders were quite aware of the need to do gender neutral advertising. But when it comes to implementation, there is a gap between their thinking and the execution. So we decided that this is something that has to be corrected. And then IAA put together a poster which circulated all the agencies in India, which basically talked about how to portray women in advertising. That poster, if I dig into my archives, I still find it. Still a useful poster to be circulated again. Then 3 years later, we had another seminar, again on the same subject. But the subject can't be said once and everything, we think people will immediately follow that. So we kept doing this. During Megha Tata's presidentship by India, she started this initiative called IAA Voice of Change. And this voice of change, she felt, is not just to be spoken in a room like this, but it should be spoken in the offices of agencies who are producing communication, and they actually should internalize the problem that is there in the society. And based on that internalizing of the problem, the behavior would start getting corrected. I think it's been a great initiative. We have taken this program into various agencies in Bombay and Delhi and in Chennai, today in Chennai, then she also is moving to Bangalore shortly. So this is a process that has started. We do hope that this process will be an enduring one, ongoing one that will be purposefully conducted. And IAA is committed to this task as ever before. We have a wonderful panel today who's actually want to tell us the rights and wrong, what are the problems that actually is confronting us in this journey, and how we're going to overcome all this together. And the ladies in this room have a very, very important task. And that task is actually not just carry this message to somebody else, but actually insist on being represented in the right manner whenever we get a chance, okay, to say it as loudly as you can be heard. Because at the end of the day, the power of social media is in your hand, and you can use the social media to correct many of the wrongs that is happening in this country. So I look forward to a wonderful discussion that's going to be moderated by Megha. And there is also, I'm told, the good research presentation going to be presented by Geetanjali. Look forward to that. And of course, to the wonderful discussion that will follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swamy, for setting the context of an important evening. Now, it's my proud privilege to introduce Megha Tata. The format of the event is Megha will offer introductory opening remarks. Thereafter, UNICEF will share, and she'll also lead the conversation. She'll also introduce the panel. Megha Tata is CEO of Cosmos, Maya, and co-chairperson of Women Empowerment Committee of India chapter of IAA. She worked as a part of leadership team of STAR and HBO, BTVI, and also Discovery, and a consistent record of increasing sales, effective negotiation profit, and also analysis of strategic implementation of business operations. She received a Women Leadership Award by World Women Leadership Congress. She was also adjudged amongst Asia's most inspirational women in leadership for the year 2022 by House of Rose Professional. Very, very indeed credible. That deserves a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. She served as a vice president of international advertising and also later as president of international. She was also immediate past president of IA. And now request Megha Tata to offer views and thereafter take it forward in their program.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Group Captain, sir, for a wonderful introduction and setting the tone and the context for the evening today. Thank you, Sundar sir, for welcoming us all here in this wonderful venue. This is really wonderful, and yes, the food is fantastic as well. So first of all, I think I just want to add another layer to what Sundar sir spoke about, saying it's wonderful to see a lot of women out here, which definitely is. But for me, it's even more wonderful to see so many men out here. And I think that the change we are hoping to see and the change we want to see can happen if all of us are on the same page and make that change happen. So I just wanted to set the context of what we're going to speak today about. IAA, of course, has been, which is also, it's called International Advertising Association, has been at the forefront of a lot of the changes which are happening in the industry, which is primarily in the advertising, media, and marketing space. And we've always taken up initiatives which are right for the business, which is good for the industry. And so, like Sir mentioned, that when I was the president of IAA India chapter, there's an initiative we undertook, which we call as the IAA Voice of Change. And the main objective of that initiative was to understand that how are women getting represented in the advertising of our country. Because a lot of the way it gets positioned is how subconsciously and frankly, consciously, it gets embedded in our minds how women and men should be portrayed. So when you look at a commercial or an ad, which is constantly telling you a message, it gets imprinted in your mind, whether you like it or not. And for us, that is a very integral part as an industry which can make a difference. I think it is a social responsibility, a moral responsibility for us and all the stakeholders of the industry to take the efforts to make that change. So what we did was that we partnered with UNICEF. So Geetanjali, who you'll hear her in a bit, who's from UNICEF. And we have Kavita from UNICEF as well, representing UNICEF here. That's Kavita. So UNICEF partnered with IAA, and we brought on board GDI, which is the Gina Davis Institute of Gender and in Media. It's a research body, to undergo a research study. And what we did was that we took about 1,000 ads, which are the most popular ads on television as well as on digital platform. And in that study, GDI did was understand that how we identify certain parameters and identified how the women are represented in our commercials. The outcome of that study is what we'll share with you in a bit. It's the highlights of the study. If you want more details of the study, we're happy to share that with you. And to me, frankly, the outcome was not surprising. The good thing was that the needle had moved from maybe when we started in the industry. I've been in the industry for last 30 plus years, and I see that there has been lots of movement, but is the needle moved enough? I don't think so. And hence we said, okay, now we need to talk about it. We need to tell the world and we need to do something about it. You can't just do a research and say, okay, oh, that's terrible. Okay, let's move on. So we launched this study on the back of a summit, what we call the IAA Voice of Change Summit. It was done last year in Mumbai, which was beautifully led by my colleague of the industry, Nina Jaipuria. She works with Viacom as the head of kids and the GC business there. And she curated this entire summit, which was outstanding. We had the who's who of the industry come and speak about what we need to do as an industry to talk to make that change. While that was a fantastic success, we also felt that it's very important that now some action be taken. So we said that instead of just doing these summits maybe annually, which is great, how do we go into smaller cohorts to people who are actually making the change and can make the change? So we started these roadshow along with the partnership we beautifully been with our beautiful partners, UNICEF. And we went to different agencies because we said, let's talk to the people who are actually creating these ads, who are actually sitting and putting, casting that person and sitting and putting a strategy together. So we started this journey and we did a few, we have already done a few, which is in Mumbai, Delhi, in Hyderabad, and now Chennai is, of course, our first one. We just did finish in the day today with RK SWAMY. We had a fantastic session, fantastic discussion, really interesting insights. And we are here today to discuss the same with you. So we're hoping that by the end of the session, each one of us have something to take away, not only from the wonderful panel, the inputs and the insights we're going to get from them, but from all of you as well. If you have any comments, any questions, anything you want to say that can help us make the change, it would be absolutely wonderful and welcome, because like we say, every voice counts. So on that note, I will go back to the panel and start the conversation. Thank you. Sorry. Geetanjali, hi, Geetanjali, welcome from Delhi.
Hi, Megha, hi.
We have a full house waiting to hear from you. So ladies and gentlemen, that's Geetanjali from UNICEF, and she's going to share the highlights of our study.
Thank you so much, Megha, and a very, very good evening to everyone present. My heartfelt thanks from UNICEF in India to each one of you for actually having taken out the time to be here today. Means a lot to us, and I think I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the presentation, because I think the discussion is going to be far richer, but just wanted to give a very quick context and then start sharing the presentation. And Megha has already given a background of where this journey began. But as I share with you today, I will also share why and how UNICEF perceives and looks at some of these issues. So I don't know if everybody can see my screen. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. So just to say that, the important thing to note here, and I think we all get that in some way, we all understand that the whole gender socialization, gender inequities or inequalities are over a life cycle. Now, they start before birth, and there are different stages of the life cycle where there is that influence, which results many times in negative outcomes for girls and for women. And that is the reason that UNICEF has found this mandate and understood that this mandate is important for us across our programs. Whether we talk health, nutrition, water sanitation, education, protection, we understand that every dimension of life is impacted by gender equalities or inequalities, right? And I think I'm not going to repeat it, but as across the red bar that all of you can see, these are some things that we see in the field, in the work that we do across 16 states of India and across the globe. We see these issues quite strongly at hand. In this whole space, we also understand that what are those aids or agents that actually aid stereotypical representation or stereotypical behaviors towards girls and women. And I think, families, communities, traditions, cultures, norms, and how we've actually grown up influences it in a big way. Our own families, the conversations we have, how we perceive things. And it's not just, the family, it's also tradition of years. Then the school space, the workspace, peers, people you meet, everybody has an influence on us. And so all of these things can aid inequalities as well as equalities. And one of the pieces out of this is what UNICEF globally is really focusing on, and that is the the representation of girls and women through media and in advertising. So that is where, as Megha mentioned, this is something that we partnered very delightfully with the International Advertising Association, the India chapter, Megha, Nina, Ramesh, and really they were almost evangelists, if I can say, to this whole process. And that's what really took it to where it has been taken today. We started in 2019 with evidence. For UNICEF globally, before we take up anything, we first try and generate evidence for it, to understand how does this really work. And that evidence is also what Megha mentioned, is the research that we did with the Gina Davis Institute of Media. We got very, very sound, interesting insights. Again, as has been mentioned before, there's no surprise, but there's also a big relief that over the last many years, how the advertising fraternity, how the marketing management fraternities across India have really steered and driven a dialogue which is more gender equitable than it was earlier. So steps are being taken in the direction. This study was just to say that, we of course understand lots has been done and continues to be done, but how do we also get more insights into nuances which then sometimes get overlooked? Sorry, yeah. So I'm just going to, I'm not going to spend too much time on the methodology, etc., but moving straight on to the findings. One of the pieces that came through very clearly was that there is an equal representation of male and female characters. It's not like women are not seen in ads. They are certainly seen in ads. They're certainly, shown in in advertisements, in movies, and in different genres and different types of formats. But and that was not, like Megha said, a surprise, right? However, what also came very clearly to us was how are women, which sectors are women being represented? And I'm not able to see everybody in the room there, but I would have loved to actually be there in person, because, it's just to sort of reinforce to our own selves that this is known to us, but when it's seen or when we see it in a research, it just reinforces that, yes, women are typically seen in home care, fashion, corporate, airlines, but underrepresented in banking, finance, media, maybe tourism, sport for sure. And also, I think while girls and women have a strong presence in advertising, like I said from the earlier slide, they are usually seen selling or being associated with certain type of products, right? So the major findings, very quickly to go through those, some of the things were very stark. You may see women in ads and in films and in serials and so on, but what are some of those nuances which can lead to gender inequalities? The first one being female characters are more likely to be shown as attractive. They have to be looking in a certain way, always well turned out. If you see the percentage difference, it's quite a lot better than average looking. Why a woman and not a man? Why is it that women have to look in a certain way only? Mm, Also in terms of gender tropes, as they say, that showing a woman as a subservient wife or a pushy aunt or a domineering male. Of course those things are changing, and I'm not at all denying that we are where we were, but these things are still somewhat seen in some of the ads. Also, in terms of occupation, that again is very stark. That what are the kind of occupations that paid occupations that male and female are being shown? Females typically at home. So, men are being seen to control that conversation, to lead in paid occupations. They're making that career, bringing the money home. And therefore, because of all these things, because they're seen, perceived in serious spaces, leadership obviously is more associated with men than with women. And even now, when you see a boardroom situation or something, you'll have that one or a woman placed there amid so many other men, and so obviously significantly more likely to be leaders. Again, decision making. So all these things, the looks of it, where women are seen, who is the leader, who is making the decisions, these very nuanced, very underlying pieces are the ones which kind of catch us, and they say that, okay, this has to be addressed, right? Women are making decisions, and I was mentioning in the earlier presentation today that it was very interesting because I was speaking to somebody and how she told me that, yeah, but women are in we always see women, they will make the decisions related to, say, a toilet cleaner, but are they making the decisions related to where we want to make the investments, what else we need to do, or any thing related to a holiday that they want to take? Again, caretaking, parenting, much more with a woman than with a man, right? And once in a while we will see ads showing a father with the child, but always more in a fun space, whereas the woman is always the real core parenting is happening there. Again, female dominated activities, shopping, cleaning, preparing meals. So what is this doing to younger girls and boys who are watching not just ads but different formats of media? In their minds, subconsciously, it's getting very clear that it's great. Women are everywhere, so we are equal, but are they really equal? Because what are those women doing and what will they continue to do? So what are girls thinking about it at the age of 10, 11, 14? So that is an area that we have to think about. Again, the settings, this we often spoke about during our discussions with IAA and Gina Davis, that really this is stark. Females are being shown more in a living room, more in a bedroom, more in that space which is home space, right? Whereas men are being shown in an office, outdoors, sporting event. And I'm not saying women are not shown in these spaces, but if you compare it, as you can see the percentages in front of you, that is a difference, and that's what we need to inch towards. So I think it's I think through the presentation, what we really wanted to share was that it's absolutely not to say that change isn't happening. Of course change is happening, it's happened, we can see it, but there are still those very um, slight, nuanced, subconscious, underlying pieces that if we consider and look at, it can really help us in the communication we create, not just advertising, like I said, all forms of communication. And I really want to go on the record to thank once again the International Advertising Association, who as an industry body have taken up this mandate themselves. we are their knowledge partners, but this is their initiative. Voice of Change is theirs. They have been evangelists to say, how do we take this forward? How are we going to make that change happen by having those conversations? So this is just food for thought. We all need to think about it equally, and we all need to inch towards that moving needle. Yeah, so I'll stop here, Megha, and if there's anything, from any questions, I'd be happy to take. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Geetanjali. A round of applause for Geetanjali. Thank you. Do you have any questions for her for the moment? Any questions for Geetanjali? Okay, so I think Geetanjali will get straight into the discussion here
Absolutely.
with this wonderful panel we have. Sorry, we have a question. Yes.
Okay. Yes,
Hi,
sure. Sir.
Geetanjali. Good evening.
Hi.
It's a very nice presentation. I think very informative, and it will be really useful because it will, I think, ignite our consciousness. I think that's what I could see over there. I just a question. Have you done this study only in India, or I saw in one of the slide global comparison and all? If this study has been done in various other countries also, how we are vis-a-vis some other countries? Is there a light? Is there an insight you can throw? Yeah, thanks.
Sure. So this kind of a study on advertisements per se, we only looked at ads. It's not been done in another space. Different formats have been tested and researched in other countries, sir. Here in India, this was really the first of its kind to look at advertisements from the unique formula that Geena Davis uses. We have tried to interpret also some of the findings they've had in other countries that Geena Davis has researched, but even on other formats. And then IAA, of course, took this mandate, therefore, to understand that we should move away only from advertising into a much larger canvas. So the mentions that you may have seen on the presentation were on other formats, not in advertising. Thank you.
Thank you, Geetanjali. And so
Thanks.
let's now, we'll now straight get into the discussion with this. Oh, I'm sorry, there is a question. Sorry. There's a question from the audience. Hold on,
Sure.
Geetanjali.
Sure.
Ma'am, can you?
Hi.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, can you experience that type of dominations on your
Sorry.
type of domination on their life and type of?
It's okay. Yeah.
So I'll
Language.
give in. Yeah, you can use any, but I kind of understand what you're asking. But yeah, if you want to explain
Ma'am,
further.
அவங்க எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் பண்ணிருக்காங்களா இந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது ஒரு டைப்பான டாமினேஷன்ஸ் அவங்களுக்கு?
In her own life.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you experienced this bias in your own life, Geetanjali?
So thank you so much for this question. And I think it's really, it's important that we talk about these things openly as we can. But, honestly, I think in my own space and life, right, I think we've kind of grown up and we've been privileged to be educated and to be in spaces where we've, been given freedom, where we've been given equality. But I can definitely say that in so many times when I was growing up, I remember, and just to share a personal experience, I used to go to a very small place in Punjab with my parents for a holiday in the summer. And when we were growing up, and we would go to somebody's house, and they were very close family friends. They were from, a very traditional household, right? And they were very good people, very nice. They had 3 sons and 1 daughter. And I still remember in my growing years that, the girl used to study, the boys used to study, everything was there. But in the evening, when we used to come back from playing, the boys sat first to eat, always. And I used to wonder, because I don't have a brother at home and I have not seen it like this. And I would always think that, why is it that we are, also helping everybody to lay the table? Why aren't they doing it as well? And when we're sitting to eat, why aren't we all sitting together? So there are many underlying sort of pieces where, our Chinese hai khane mein, in an ad, I don't remember which ad, but there's something which is a man is sitting with the child on the table and the woman is cooking, right? And I'm not saying it's bad, okay? It's each family, each environment is different, but we have to think about these things. That do these things then make women forced to one role or the kind of role they play? So just to ask you that question, I have seen it, I have experienced it, and I have questioned it. And I think that questioning in whatever way one can is important. Not aggressively, but questioning is important.
Thank you. That was a fantastic question. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. I know,
Any
Megha, you
other
want to get
question?
on. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, oh, there is another question, Geetanjali.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Right here.
Hi, Geetanjali.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Barbara. I just wanted to ask, like, whether you even included other genders and not just men and women. Have you done, as your study included that? Shouldn't we be more inclusive now and talk about it in India too?
Thank you, Barbara. And yes, certainly this time we haven't included the other genders. We did not. And thank you so much for the input. And it's absolutely important. And I think Megha, Nina, and I and Kavita, when we met a few months ago in Bombay, this is exactly what we were discussing with the team. So the next research, we hope to do a midline of this baseline somewhere in 2024. Of course, that will have to have the same base, but we hope that we can include that for sure. So that will give us stark inequalities, Barbara. So thank you for raising that.
Thank you, Barbara. That was indeed a fantastic question again, because we are very much conscious of that fact that we need to bring, that's the unconscious bias we need to get out of as well, that the gender inclusivity does not mean only about men and women. So thank you for that. I think this is a good time now to get into the discussion. Geetanjali, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. So I think, this is, I'm sure, been a lot of food for thought for all of us, and definitely this wonderful panel. And I think what we will do first is, let's start around the table here, around this tables here, to go through and understand from each of the panelists, what is their view as first about this? What do they think about it? Do they believe in it? Do they think that this is something we need to address, and hence what we should do about it? So we'll start, and I will break that bias of ladies first. So we're going to start with you, Choka. If you can tell us, in your experience, and what do you feel about the voice of change and the need for it today?
Okay. This study I got some time back, a couple of days back. It was shared. It actually was a mirror image. It was like a mirror for me. See, usually ads are mirrors of society, but this study actually mirrors of what we ad creators are thinking. Okay, consciously or unconsciously is what I felt. So when I saw the mirror, I didn't like the image that was there. And knowingly or unknowingly, I have contributed to a lot of messaging in that, bias or stereotypes. So how do we change? How do we change that image? I think first you can't change the image. You have to change the self. So if I have to, first thing is I have to start changing my thinking before I can start influencing others. So that is one lesson for me. Having said that, as a creator, I work for an ad agency. A day in the life of an ad man. If you take me, I'm a writer. So first thing in the morning, there is actually a lot of briefs that are already pending beyond deadlines. So we are trying to crack that, headline and ad and stuff. Then once that's done, the creative director approves it. Then my, the client servicing team approves it. And finally, we take it to the client and the client bounces back. So we are constantly trying to, work on that and thing. So finally, we get to, get the ad approved and release it. So what happens is I have an agenda. My agenda is to get the ad out. The client he's got a different agenda. He wants sales. So he is judging from that. My boss or the branch head will be judging from how much billing I'm going to make out of it. See, all the agendas are different. So in that case, this agenda now has to fit in there. So how do we fit this agenda with all that personal agendas that we have is a task. That's good.
Yeah, I know it's not an easy task for sure, but I think that is what I think these dialogues will help us to get a bit more consciously, approach these conversations, and maybe some change can happen. But I do have a follow-up question for you, but I want to ask Navneet first. What is your opinion, Navneet? You're in the thick of things. I know you feel very passionately about this as well. Yeah.
So firstly, a very big thank you to you and to IIA for starting this, because as you said, it's an absolutely vital conversation. And I like voice of change because one voice is going to nudge a lot of other voices to speak up. So that's really important. So thank you for that. And thank you for also giving me the opportunity to talk about this, which is so close to my heart. But as I do feel that we are moving in the right direction. We have seen, I think when you look at what's happening in advertising in the last few years, and there are brands out there who have the courage to, push the boundaries. So we were talking about Tanishq earlier, we were talking about Dove. So there are brands that have done it. But it's just that we do need to rev it up. And lots has been spoken, lots has been said. So we go, jaise we say na in the movies, the dialogue ka time khatam ho gaya, abhi action ka time hai. So what I thought was that we should put together a checklist of what we can do in our day-to-day lives. And as we go to design our next campaign, what are the things that we should be conscious of? So I put down a few things and I thought like the rest of the panel can add to that as, the conversation progresses. So the first thing that comes to mind is the narrative itself, the narrative of the brand as well as the narrative of the campaign. I mean, how well does our narrative actually resonate with the consumer that we are talking to? I think that's really important. How deep have we dug to get insights which are truly empathetic, or, they're truly deep, and they truly understand all the layers, because our lives are so complex, and particularly as women who are now stepping out into new roles, there's a lot of complexity in terms of what they do and what they want to do, and their relationships, and how to keep everybody happy, and what are their dreams, what are their disappointments? Do we really actually get that? That's really important. And in terms of what the story that we tell, or the messaging that, are we showing women in an empowered way, whether it's a personal care ad or beauty ad or whatever? How are we showing this person? I think that's really important. There is this book, it's a very famous book, a very impactful book that was written by this man called John Berger. He wrote on art actually, and the book is called Ways of Seeing. And he wrote this book in the early 70s. So he, of course, was decoding art for a lot of people, but he also talked of what he and then called publicity, which is basically advertising. And he said that how men and women differ in their presence in all these images is the reason is because women are born into this allotted, confined space in the keeping of men. And they grow up watching themselves because they are, expecting that they will be judged by others who are looking at them. And now I think that women don't want to watch themselves anymore. They just want to be themselves. You know, they don't want to be constantly surveying, how am I looking? How should I walk? How should I sit? How should I speak? How should I laugh? How should I dress? How should I make my hair? What color should I wear? They don't want that, you know? So they want to have the self-confidence to actually just go out there and be themselves. And it's important that when we tell our stories, we show our women in that way. We show them being themselves. So that is really important for me. And, you know, thirdly, I mean, we've talked about, you were mentioning, okay, when I'm casting, you know, casting is a huge affair. In my mind, it's like, it's always a stressful day, you know, and particularly me. I mean, there are times that I'm in a room with 10 gentlemen, so including client and agency, and, you know, what's the model? Who's the model, you know? So the thing is that we need to think about this before. We need to say, what's the kind of woman that we want to show? It's not, you know, what is she doing in the ad? And what is her character? Who is she? What is she doing? And so what always focuses me, because there's a contradiction over there. See, you when you want to be safe, I mean, brands do want, you know, marketing is a very expensive affair, and they want to reach out to the maximum number of people. They want the maximum numbers of consumers to relate to their ad. So relatability is the thing. So when you say relatability, you want to show the woman in a traditional role, because, you know, that's probably her real life. But when it comes to how she looks, you don't want her to look how she looks in real life. You want to see, you know, show a glamorized version of this person. So I'm saying, like, as I was mentioning earlier today in our conversation, is, you know, the struggle is between, you know, being authentic and being glamorous. So the authenticity and the glamour. Whereas actually, if you're authentic, you'd probably be more relatable. But we have this certain image in our heads of what, you know, this woman should look like. And there are innumerable casting sessions that I've sat through where, you know, oh, her skin is too dark, or her hair is too curly, or, you know, her smile is too gummy. And so we can't have her. Yeah. So that's something that we need to watch out for. And this is something that's really close to my heart again. this amazing tool called humor. And research says this, it's not me. Research says that humor is a male domain. Because again, you know, it's a marker of self-confidence. Only if you have confidence, you crack a joke and you dare to laugh out loud and all of that. So, but women are actually inherently pretty funny. You know, we are a very happy and entertaining bunch. And I just wish that all of us become mindful of this and make sure that we integrate humor into our storytelling, because it is so disarming. It softens our message, it lightens everything. And then it shows that you are confident in your own skin. So that's something that I really think we should bring in. And this, you know, this whole male voiceover thing is another, we've just sort of ascribed that authority. So there's a voice of authority talking down to this person who doesn't know what they're doing, and that's usually a male voiceover. And there's so many debates about male, female, and there are times we've recorded female and then changed it to male, and, you know, stuff like that. So those are little signals that we send out, you know, when consumers are watching, they're listening. And women, let me tell you, they are listening and noticing far more details and nuances than men are. Yeah. And we can't have this, we can't have like tokenism kind of, you know, I mean, okay, gender washing or whatever you might call it.
I think these are all fantastic points, Navneet. I think they hold your next few for the follow-up question I have for you. But these are definitely very key takeaways. And I think that is the reason, like all the problems you highlighted is also the reason why the report shows what it does, right? And I think that is what we're hoping to find some actions taken to make that change. So Mr. Kumarappan, would you like to give some insights as to what do you think should be done?
Thanks, Megha. I think, first of all, let me thank IAA and MMA for giving this opportunity. I think I am the odd man out here. Okay, I am from the industry. And I think intuitively, I'm just thinking that one of the reasons why I am sitting here today is I am associated with TAFE, I think, which is led by one of the finest business leaders India has ever produced, Padma Shri Mallika Srinivasan. So I'm associated with TAFE for almost last 15 years. I think that is one of the reasons why I'm sitting in this panel today. I think as I'm connecting with what Chokka started, I think any ad is, we cannot see the ad in isolation. It is a piece of the society. It is a mirror of what is the reality out there. It can be either a reality or it can be an aspiration. Okay, it can be either. Okay. So majority of the ads, I think 85–90% will be reality and 10–15% will be on aspiration. That's why I look at various ads. Even the ads we produce also, I think it is like that. Okay, because it has to connect, because ultimately an ad is produced for a particular purpose, to sell the goods and services. Okay, so it has to connect with the society and it has to be relevant. If we are very far away from the realities, then it will not connect. Okay, so that is the baseline. Okay, so I'm talking on behalf of the clients. So there is always, there can be an ideal or ideology. Yes, that is always there. But we need to see what is the reality and what is the aspiration. What is the societal aspiration? Okay, and then connect with both. If you are able to connect with both, I think that you will make a real, very good advertisement, which will be successful in terms of the commercial aspects as well as in terms of the societal aspect. I think that is what I think we all need to. That is what we also try to do majority of the times, because ultimately we all have, okay, everybody, we are all from a family. We have women, we have son, daughter, all that. So, and again, another thing from my experience, I say that if we are able to connect with our culture, I think our culture naturally has got a lot of good things. The Bharat culture, and it is always Shiva Shakti. It is never Shiva or never Shakti. It is always Shiva Shakti only. Okay, Ardhanarishwara. That is the way we see life. Okay, it's always 50–50. And that is the energy, that is the body and the soul. The Shiva is the body and Shakti is the soul. That is the way we look at it. I think if we are able to imbibe our culture and look at things through that lens, because I think in our culture, we have got all these truths, all these important essence of a very civilized living is there already, okay, for the last so many years. So if you are able to leverage that, I think we will be able to do better job as professionals, can make better advertisements. I think that's what my initial.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumarappan. Very interesting insights, and I would like to now get Latha's views as someone who again believes very strongly in this space and has done some amazing work as well. So, Latha, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Good evening all, and thanks for taking the time to be here. Thanks to MMA to having us all to discuss this very important topic, which is very close to all of us. We've grown in this field and we've been exposed to so many challenges while we entered in the field of advertising. It was not a very easy field. I think all of us are front runners, including Bala, who's sitting there. We are all people who came into the field of advertising where not many women were there. I think we are all firsts in our field. So we've grown in the field and we've seen the role of women changing as we have grown in the field and gone up to, I would say, higher positions. I won't say leadership positions yet because we're still trying to be leaders and trying to create changes. I would like to take the larger picture. You know, we are all talking about advertisement, but I'd like to talk about the world in general. I'd like to talk about the house. I'd like to see what men and women are exposed to while they grow up, and which is what is constantly reflected in advertising. I think that's a very key point to talk about because, you know, I had research and all that written, but I don't think that's relevant right now. But basically, you know, in 1995, there was this UN World Conference for Women in Beijing. And the main thing that they said that the status of a nation is very closely tied to the status of its female citizens. And that's what happens, you know, to the nation. And if you do not treat your female citizens well, it kind of reflects in the kind of work you do or the kind of economy that develops. And that is what we've seen. Of course, you've seen great progress. You've seen maternal mortality, which is reduced. You've seen, you know, primary school enrollment, schools, boys, girls, kind of equal parity. You've seen women now being represented in, you know, in the government, in different heads of corporate bodies. They're growing globally. All that is happening, but we also have many perennial evils. You still have sexual harassment. You still have sex trafficking. You still have domestic violence. And of course, in America now, a ban on abortions. And you also have, you know, the ratio of the man-woman ratio as children are born, that's also kind of skewed. So all these things also have to be corrected. If we want to create change in a larger level, I think in a smaller level also, this has to be changed. And I'm talking about the household. In the house, what is a woman treated as? A subordinate. Is she really given an equal status? Can I ask any of the men here? Do you treat your wife equally or your sister equally? Can I see a raise or show of hands? How do the women feel? No, I'm asking them. A show of hands of women. Do you feel like you're treated equally in your house?
I think I just want to add just point here. I think very nice point. So here we have a concept, no? What about your house, whether it is Madurai or Chidambaram? I think you people will understand that, right? Madurai is where Meenakshi has the upper hand and Chidambaram is where Shiva has the upper hand. So both households are there. I think, but where Madurai households are much more successful, as per my experience.
That is the main thing, the key. Yeah, sure. Chokka, please add.
Who are we to treat them equally or unequally?
No, but women feel that, you know, whether you like it or not, you've grown up in a household. I'm also an example. Maybe you're that kind of guy, Chokka, but I don't see that with many. I'm still seeing examples that, you know, which reflect that. So I would say that I think this whole change should begin at home. Like they say that old cliched proverb, charity begins at home. Change should begin at home, and then you start seeing it going up tier by tier. It's then when it gets reflected, when you're not treated subordinate, you know, as a subordinate, but treated equally. And they say that, you know, people who look at women as inferiors tend to engage in political violence. And I think we're seeing examples of that in our country. You're seeing it in different corners of our country. So those are the kind of points I'd like to kind of engage in. And the other thing is, as Navneet had spoken, in commercials, I mean, women don't want to be seen through the male gaze or the male perspective. They want to be seen as themselves. They don't want to be seen as beautiful at all. They just want to be comfortable in their own skin. And just let me be. Give me the sovereignty and the freedom to just act as I want. Please don't try to make me the stereotypical Barbie, which is what, you know, don't try to make me thin, fat, tall. Don't describe me. Men are not looked through in such intense fashion. I don't think so, Chokka. Okay, so when even like how Navneet was saying, when we are casting, when models come, you know, when guys or girls come, we cannot look at them like, oh, is that proportion right? Is that face right? And, you know, sometimes you have some other people standing with you, oh, they're so dark, I said, how can you look at somebody like that? That is your subjectiveness. You know, a model is, do they fit the bill of that character of what you're trying? So this is the challenge. So, you know, we want to represent women of all types, women who are older also. Where are commercials for women who are older? There are no commercials for women of different colors, of different demographics, different social strata. You know, we would like to see women and underrepresented voices, which is what is becoming interesting now in advertising, because as more women are coming into the workforce, which is women like Navneet, me, Bala, all of us, and Megha. I'm talking about women, men, you've already been there, so I'm not including you all. The women per se, we are able to make changes. We're able to see through a new lens. And we're able to say things, we would like to have representation across, and we like to include different kinds of voices. And my whole experience has been now women are speaking up. Social media, for all its faults, has been a great channel for women to express what they don't like about a particular product. They're able to come out and say why I don't like it, why do I find it objectionable. So you're hearing the voices of women a lot nowadays compared to before, when channels where, how did I express myself? I couldn't. And did I know that another woman was feeling the same way? No, I didn't. It was punishing for me to endure it. But today, you'll all have the ability to write that, and which is why there is a movement. How many ads keep hitting at you to be thinner, slimmer, fairer, whiter, be more feminine? That's a great thing you always keep hearing. Sit properly, don't talk out of turn. That's another thing you keep hearing. Don't talk out of turn. I mean, right now I have a mic. Nobody can grab it away from me, but I'm just saying, but these are things that we've all grown up with. And it is so important that more voices and more chairs come into the table and more voices are heard for us to then create more authentic storytelling. And I think that is the way forward for advertising and any kind of creative endeavor, I think.
Absolutely. I think, like you rightly pointed out, Latha, it's not just about women as which kind of women. There's so many women of different strata, like you said. And I think, like Barbara highlighted, I think it's going beyond women as well, adding more like so many other genders to bring them into the inclusive narrative. So for you, last but not the least, would you like to give your view onto this as well?
I was not part of the panel, I thought. Anyway, I think the time has come, certainly time has come, to look at the way we look at communicating with audiences. It is no longer possible to get away with unequal treatment to women in our communication. I think more and more advertisers have realized it. Serious advertisers certainly are following it. And it is going to be difficult to get away by actually demeaning portrayal of women in communication. That's my view. And I think most large companies are already doing it. They are very, very conscious, thankfully. And there are few small entrepreneurs, owner-driven companies who are actually wanting to be sexist, wanting to portray different women in a demeaning manner. But hopefully, those small tribe also will vanish next few years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I think this is fantastic. These initial thoughts are so encouraging from each one of them. I want to sort of follow up with a couple of questions. Choka, you've been in the advertising industry for so many years now. You've obviously seen a change happen, right, over these years of how the creative has changed. And like we said, there are lots of clients and advertising we see, which are pretty progressive, but there's a long way to go. So being an integral part of an industry, what do you think we should do as an industry to make it, to make some changes happen, like some more tangible steps which we can take to make this change happen? Because it's all nice to sit in a panel and make some comments and say that we got to make the change. But like, Navneet said, it's now we've spoken enough. We need to take action. Any guidance onto that as what can be done to actually make that change happen?
See, I think a lot of unlearning has to happen first. Okay. Like simple example, I'll tell you, if there is in a movie today, if I have to tell you there is a hero entry, there is a song that happens. Okay. So just imagine any song in your mind. Okay. A hero is coming. Let's say Rajinikanth is coming. And what song comes to your mind? Either Badsha, Padayappa, this type of movie. And can you tell me a song for the lady of the film? Can you tell me a song? Yeah. Sing a penny. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you said that. When I asked this question earlier to a couple of my friends, they said Chinna Chinna Ase. They thought about it. It's a very nice song and this thing. But believe me, is there stereotyping there? I'm glad Chinna Chinna Sing a Penny came. That is the change. I think we need to start thinking differently. We need to unlearn a lot of things. So this is already happening in movies and this thing and ads. It's happening, but I think a lot can be done. Another thing in the advertising agencies, I had a lot of women bosses. Okay. Still, knowingly or unknowingly, we had our biases, we had our stereotypes. Maybe it's a collective effort.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic because like we said, men and women, I mean, we need to be gender agnostic to the conversation, you know, when we are casting, it has to be with who's right for that role, you know, rather than identifying how that individual should be. So thanks so much, Choka. Latha, I mean, you've been a content creator and I think you can, and I know do play a big role in how the narrative can be shifted. So this is a question more from understanding that how do we make the content creators of our country, that whole community more inclusive in making, in being part of this change journey rather than, you know, saying like from instruction to inclusion. You know, how do we make that journey come alive where when you feel a little bit more involved, saying, okay, I want to be part of the change rather than being told that you should be part of this change?
So I work with this very big brand called Hats and Agro Products. And from 2010, we've done this very amazing campaign, which is for Arogya Milk, which is goodness with love from the villages. Now, when we started the campaign, they wanted me to do real life stories of dairy farmers. So we were moving into a different space called documercials. I won't say it's a commercial because I'm going and shooting a real life story of a dairy farmer. And I literally have to go find that farmer who supplies milk for my client. So I was given about 50 farms. I had to go searching and traveling and, you know, moving around. And these are farmers and I have to make them perform and they're not actors. So I was just seeing, and our main contention now, farming has become a very family driven occupation. They don't have employees because everyone's now caught under the, you know, the Rega scheme where they're getting that 100 rupees per day. So they don't really work as labor on the farm. So unless the family is together, you can't make that film. You can't make the farm work as well and the dairy farm work. So it was interesting because I'm looking across different people. They're not particularly conventionally good looking, the man or the woman or the child or anything. I'm just looking at how harmonious the family is, how harmonious the dynamics of the family is. And that is how I saw if they're working together, if they're happy doing things together, and if they're comfortable with the camera. Because I was moving around with the camera and I told my client, are you serious? It's not going to look like a commercial. It's going to look very ordinary. And I said, I'll shoot you a reference. And I just shot him a reference. And he said, okay, Latha, I'm ready to release it. So, you know, the client was willing to make that change. And he doesn't mind any story I tell. If there's a lady farmer, in fact, yesterday we had a client meeting and the lady said, I started with 4 cows and I have now 40 cows. In this village, I'm one of the biggest. The lady said this. And he said, Latha, don't you think she's sounding arrogant? So I said, she's proud of her achievement and I played her. When I played her, she was saying it very sweetly. When it's read as a sentence, it sounds arrogant. But when the way she said it, she said, "Na 4 maadu vecha aarambichen, ippo 40 maadu irukku." Does it sound arrogant? No. So it's the way you render it. It's the way you say it. So, you know, so you go along the journey of, you know, of conversion. But we have started that. I would say I am in that process And I am working on this brand for 10 years and we've made progress.
Fantastic. I think that's a round of applause for that. It's wonderful, Latha. I mean, and you rightly said, like, the change happened because the client was open to that change. And I hear that quite often from many stakeholders in the industry saying that sometimes we do go with a creative idea, which is taking away the biases, but the client says, no, I need to hit my sales targets, stick to the brief, give me what I want. Don't be too intellectual about it. So in that context, Mr. Kumarappan, how do you think we can bring in some bit of accountability in the client's minds, in the business heads' minds? Like wherein, like, we are all part of corporate organizations and we all have KRAs and we get evaluated. And at the end of the year, the HR does the, whatever the evaluation, and that's part of our corporate existence. But, what if there was a way to make this a part of an, your KRA, like, or the business head's KRA or the CMO's KRA, that how inclusive is your communication? How have you not been sort of prey to the biases which exist? Is there a way to create a system in the organization to bring more accountability with the guys who are actually sitting and making these decisions happen?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I think every CMO or every the CEO or CMD, they have their consciousness, and I already told that, okay, I'm representing TAFE, which is led by a great woman business leader. Okay, so I think naturally it comes in our organization. If you see whatever we do, whatever business, I'm not even talking about advertisement. I'm talking about any business decisions, even organization structuring. Okay, I think TAFE, if you see, you come to our HO, you can see that the women makes almost, I think, 40-45% of our workforce can come to Mumbai. You can see that. Okay, so that is the way, and we give the equal opportunity. In my team, I have got almost 40% women work with me in marketing, even though the tractor is largely a patriarchal industry as such. But in the marketing team, I have got, I think they know Sunil, Veena, they are all there. Okay, the marketing team of TAFE has got 40% women over there. And that is the way we look at things. And again, I'm connecting with the culture. Okay, as I said earlier, the Siva Shakti, that is our culture. It is not one independent of the other. And we are in such a industry that agriculture is where I think you will be aware. I think Tata talked about the dairy farming. I think dairy farming or agriculture, I think women play a lead role. It's not a secondary role or whatever. They play a lead role. Okay, even though they don't get the recognition. Yes, that is the saddest part. But if you see the data today, whatever we eat, okay, whether it is rice or fruits or cereals or whatever it is, the contribution is 80% from the women. They are the actual farmers. Actually, the men are actually majority of them. They do a little bit of that supervising task and all that. Okay, but the real job is done by the women. Okay, so I think whatever we eat, that credit goes to the women. I think we are very conscious about it. I just want to show one commercial, a very, very short clip, if you allow me. It will take some 30 seconds. Sure. I think, can we play that small clip? Video. Can you have the sound also?
આપણા ઘર દાદોની કહેવત છે
શું વાત છે
કે ઘી ખાઈએ તો દેશી અને ટેક લાવીએ તો મેસી.
જોરદાર.
These are all again, as Latha was mentioning, these are all not actors. There are actual women farmers, and these farmers own these tractors, and they drive it, and they do this agriculture. I think that part, okay. The other data is, even though 80% of contribution agriculture is coming from women, but the land holding ownership is hardly 13 to 15% in our country. That is the way but that is fast change. Earlier, it was only hardly 3%, 4%. Now it has come to a level of 15%. I think by the next decade, we expect that it will come to a level of 50-50. I think that is the day then women real empowerment will happen. When the landholding ownership is 50% with the women. That is what we are all driving, and we are very conscious about it. I will not say that everything is hunky-dory,
Sure.
but we have a long way to go, but we are very conscious.
No, appreciate that. Yeah, no, I think this ad was a fantastic representation. Yeah, Choka.
I just want to add to that point, like this thing. When you Google and search for images, let's say, like either you go to iStock or any other image portal and search for farmer, first thing that will come will be male. So I think that there is a change that needs to happen. The stock images should start. Leader, there will be men. I think you should start.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Absolutely. And it is us who have to make that change. I think there is nobody else is going to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves. Navneet, I think one question which connected to the change which is happening in today's times, I think social media is a big, I mean, it's a boon and a bane in many ways. And when we see what is happening, and so, how social media can impact, there are so many great stories, but there are also not so great stories out there. Is there a way you think that as a medium can play a role in bringing about this change in how the narrative of our, how women need to get represented? Is there a way the medium can be used in a better way than what we're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think more women are on social media than men. And there are differences between platforms. I think YouTube was more male and you have more women on Instagram and Facebook. We experienced this when we just did this campaign a few months ago on Women's Day for our client Orient Cements. So it was based on a very simple idea that outside the house, you only see the man's name. So it's also the woman's house, but the nameplate outside just gives the man's name. And so we just made a film on that, which ran only digitally. And it was, obviously I think the client spent a few lakhs to initially just boost it. And then he himself said, oh, it's on steroids. So on Instagram, we had like some 21 million views, across 21 million views in like 10 days. Our campaign ran for just 10 days. And there was a lot of sharing, and there were these comments which started, we left it open for comments, and there were men who were trolling and saying, अच्छा तो अब औरत का नाम घर के बाहर भी लिखा जाएगा. So for everybody's benefit, oh, now women's name will go outside the house also. And they were saying, oh, you are ruining our culture, or you are bhadkawing our women, you are stirring them up into rebellion, sort of thing. So our client, one Sunday night, I suddenly saw the comments were off. So Monday morning, I called him. I said, why have you turned off the comments? He said, people are saying things like this. I said, you know what? You turn it on, because that makes a case for you. If it is riling them so much that they are, they are reacting in this fashion, then you know how much this is needed. So there were, of course, an equal number of praises and everybody lauding and sharing and all of that. And there were these guys as well. So promptly he turned them back on, and it's done so well for them. And, it was a big lesson for us that, look, something which you just run in this way, which is targeting, which is, it's reached the right audience, it's touched the right spot. that does make a difference. So there were obviously 21 million people who saw it. Or if you don't count the boosters and bots, maybe at least 15 million, because I don't think they boosted it for more than 3 days. Just took off. So
No,
it's
that's
really
great,
a tool that we should use.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like you said, social media is part of our lives, and it can and definitely is making a impact, and how we can best use it is all up to us. We have some questions which have come from online, and I do want to use this opportunity to have. So this question is open to whoever would like to take this. This is from Mohan from Coimbatore, who asks, could you provide examples of successful initiatives or campaigns that have effectively challenged biases and led to a positive change? I thought this is an interesting question. Anyone who can share an example of any creative?
One of the good examples is the Dove campaign. Dove, changed its concept of beauty, and they started including women of all sizes, of all shapes, of all colors. They made it, Dove was being beautiful as you are. And in fact, they sometimes did a campaign where they didn't really reveal the face also, no, it was half. And Dove made a conscious effort to also shoot real women, like how do you look at, and Dove made that conscious effort. So did Unilever also. When Unilever in 2016, they made a very conscious decision to say that they will not stereotype women. They said they will use, women as vehicles of, enhancing their own aspirations and not just for product related responsibilities. They took a stand. So brands have to take stands like this, like where they take a stand saying that they will not stereotype women as, fair and beautiful, but as anything she can be. So these are brand stories that have, and have become successful. And anything else you want to share?
Ariel.
Yeah,
Ariel
Dove has
was,
been.
Ariel was a great.
Ariel also did
share
a
the
great,
load.
sharing the load where the
Share the load,
father is watching the daughter, and then the father feels embarrassed, and when he goes back home, he tries to help his wife because he had never helped his wife right through his life.
Yeah.
So
share
you've
the-
had Share the Load was the campaign.
And Tanishk has been obviously done
Yeah,
some
Tanishk
great
is,
work
that's,
in that space.
yeah, in terms of bringing,
Skin color.
skin, and also a married
and
woman
marriage,
getting,
divorcee,
remarriage and those kind
remarriage.
of
I think there
things.
have been a lot of brands who've been,
Yeah.
earlier today, someone was mentioning about Born Vita, wherein the mother was shown as a sportswoman running and teaching the child, this boy son,
Yeah.
the boy child, being the example, leading the example that she was pushed him to win in a sports. So there have been lots of brands who've been doing some great work. One example comes in one of my such sessions we had a representative from P&G who've been actually at the forefront of some of these conversations, and big respect to them on really putting money where the mouth is. So one of the things which the lady out there said was, that whenever we're discussing brand strategies and marketing strategies, I always try to look from my third eye. She said every time when you're discussing, everyone's obviously has got two eyes, and they're looking through it, but I try to open my third eye, and my third eye is the gender inclusivity eye. So if this idea or the creative doesn't pass my third eye, I don't want to do it. So it's a very conscious decision and a very gutsy one to do, but that's how then Share the Load campaign kind of ideas come through, I have another question, and I'm just thinking on time. So what is the 5 minutes? So there are lots of questions. I'm sorry, I won't be able to take all of them, but there's another one from Madhumita from Hyderabad, and she asks, how can organizations foster an environment that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion, and actively work against biases? Anyone wants to take that?
Can take that. As I already pointed out, okay, it depends on the leadership in a particular organization. I think if a leader wants the diversity, I think diversity makes sense not only from a societal point of view, but also it makes very good business sense. Actually, the diversity actually makes business sense because you get various thought processes. You have women thinks differently. As somebody points out, women look for details. Okay, they bring in that value. Okay, so that diversity actually makes a lot of business sense. I think more and more business leaders are very much aware of it and they are very conscious about it when they design the organization structure. I think it is happening now. Any big organization to take today, there is a clear KRA for the CEO to bring that diversity. Earlier I worked in companies like British Petroleum and all that. There, this agenda was very clear, and whenever there is a opportunity posted in the website, it will be clearly marked whether the gender also will be marked. Okay, so that way it was very well managed, and even in TAFE, I think we have a very conscious, and we are at a strategy level, we plan it and then ensure that the diversity is maintained at all.
Fantastic. So I'm sorry, I can't take all those questions. I want to wind up. Okay, anyone in the audience, before I ask the last question here, anyone in the audience who wants to ask a question? Yes, please. Oh, we have many.
Thank you. Thanks to MMA for this fantastic session. So I'm Madhumita, I'm a trans woman. So you've been putting the whole distinguished speakers of the day has also been very inclusive. So my question is like, how do we can be put into your inclusive system rather than you all making a lot of effort, systems and everything? The industry is completely changing. As we trans women or trans men, what should we do to match your race or speed or align yourself so that we can be completely and fastly can be included? It includes a complete LGBTQ community. We're also taking a lot of initiative. We're also studying trans women going to college, getting into placements, and we do have a lot of organizations and social activists like us. We also tend to get included, but even more faster, how do we get completely aligned with you?
You know, in Pakistan, which there was a film called Joyland. I don't know if any of you have seen it, and where a trans woman played a lead role in the film. You have to see that film. It is an incredibly beautiful film. It has not yet got released here. It's called Joyland, and she is one of the key protagonists, you know. And even in Madras, now we are seeing people in the workspaces. They're coming into workspaces. So as and when, you know, when society starts reflecting it, it will start coming into our fabric of different products also. It's slow changes, all small steps, but it will come in. Now, all of us are very conscious of the kind of commercials we do. And women by far also include underrepresented voices. We are very careful of including women and men and all genders, age groups, colors. We are very aware of all that. So I am seeing that change happening very soon. But it, you know, like we discussed earlier, it will move at a small space. But in films, I'm seeing the change.
In fact, I'm sure I don't know whether you've seen the latest series Made in Heaven in Prime.
The Bombay series.
It's a series called Made in Heaven on Amazon Prime. And one of the key protagonists is a trans woman in that. It started happening. And I think that's what we were saying. The next round of advertising needs to have. There have been one or two in that sense, few and far between, but we as an industry need to do much more on that. We do agree. Yeah.
So
I
that's
think
what,
it's also.
just
Oh, sorry.
please.
Sorry.
No,
I'm saying
you go. I'll wait.
the only thing I'd like to say, see, it's skill-based, right? I mean, nobody wants to be partial to any gender just because they are that gender. But so it's really about skills. So if you're as good an actor or as, you know, as great a model or a singer, then you get picked in the casting. It's like that. So I think that's how it should be, as you know, our senior colleague also keeps saying, we're gender agnostic. We're gender agnostic. It's really what you can, whatever you're capable of doing, be sure there'll be avenues for you to do it and show, you know, fly after that.
Chokka, you need to say?
See, you asked, what do you need to do? Actually,
Yeah.
you don't need to do anything. I think. We need to do a lot. We have to do a lot.
We have to come a long way.
Thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We need to unlearn a lot, and actually, you know, we're quite slow at that.
Hopefully, when we have this session next time, we'll have better statistics to show.
I had a question.
What's the question though? Yes, sorry.
Earlier, Mr. Chockalingam had said that who am I to give permission, which is very true. Who are they to give permission to us to empower ourselves? Women have the power to empower ourselves. However, it's a revolution because it has to be a holistic approach. Today, I'm sorry that I'm saying this, that we have men who treat the women wrong in their own household, but come and talk about women empowerment on the stage. So women, we have certain limitations, of course. So one thing I would say in the ad, in the advertisements that we make, if we can teach our boys, our son, how to treat a woman, makes a lot of change in the mindset. Like, a father telling a son how he needs to treat a woman or, treat the women equally will change a lot of mindset in the society. So that's a request from all of us here. Thank
No,
you.
absolutely agree. And I mean, I just comment if anyone else wants to. In fact, that is exactly what this dialogue and this movement is all about. It is not about just biases on women, but it is the biases on men too. Why men are also seen in a particular avatar always. Why? Just similarly, why should women be seen in a particular way and hence men are seen in a particular way? So it needs to be, like we said, a gender agnostic world. Whoever's right for the role should be casted irrespective of the gender. So
Can I add? I'd like to bring in sports. I think sports has been a great example of how men and women are behaving and changing the gender models. Like you started seeing Federer cry, you started seeing Nadal cry, you started seeing Djokovic cry. So it's constantly happening now. Men are okay to cry, which earlier they felt pressurized not to cry. Yeah, Ruti Chang. Yeah, so you have Ruti Chang. And now while we are discussing all this, the great abysmal thing that's happened in Spanish football, the women won the trophy. But what is taken away from their glory? That president of the soccer federation going and unnecessarily kissing that, Jennifer Harrismo, who was a forward. They are not able to enjoy the glory. This is why we call that, it just colors the whole occasion. And this is what we want to go away. That's what we as women would like, that kind of color to go away from our lives, I think.
all right, so I think wonderful session, and I think we can continue going about it, but I do want to end this with the last question to everybody. If there is one bias you want to stop today, what would that be? Navneet.
So I think women should not just be free to do what they want to do, but also be free not to do what they don't want to do. Because I think when you were talking about the aerial ad, that's what it was. It was like, yes, you go out and work, you do everything, but you still have to come back and you still have to take care of the family, you still have to do the laundry and the cooking and all of that. So that's something that, that's one thing. And the other thing that I would say is that, also the men are not having it so easy because they don't know what it is now to be a good husband. So are you a good husband if you help change nappies? And or are you a good husband if you just go out and earn the money? So I think both genders or all genders are right now in a state of flux. There's a lot of change going on. So every day there will be new biases that we'll be wanting to correct. But I think it's just about being sensitive to each other at a human level and not hurting each other for anything and being there for each other. That's what is important. That's it.
Thank you. Kumarappan.
I think being conscious about this, because this will be there. I think only the degree of, the mindset, it depends on, if you are conscious, then you will be able to remove. I think we are all basically good people, good nature, human beings. If you are conscious, I think we will remove these biases.
Got it. Choka.
I would start changing with the matrimonial ads. There's a lot of bias there.
Fantastic.
Feminism has taught women vibrancy and knowledge. And I think masculinism must follow its example. I think men and women should try and navigate this path together. It's not too difficult if we can, drive and challenge ourselves and learn how to break these stereotypes and detoxify the patterns that were set before. I think we can make changes and learn to appreciate both the sexes and many other sexes with great respect. I think that's important.
Fantastic. I think this has been fantastic. Round of applause for the wonderful panel, for wonderful insights. I hope this was an interesting takeaway for each one of you. It surely was for me. And I just want to thank once again MMA for giving us this opportunity and having this wonderful interaction. Like we say, every voice counts. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm round of applause. The distinguished panelists. I think each one of us become more wiser. When you step out of this place, you will think differently, I'm sure. And the women, they are the future. And MMA, you all know, we do phenomenal amount of workshop programs for women-centric. We have Women Managers Forum, Women Students Forum. We do a lot of events. Please log into the website. You'll know how much we respect women because we strongly believe they are the future. May I request you please step forward to do a memento, sir? Swami, sir. Thank you, viewers, watching online. We have over 900 people watching it online. Sorry, we couldn't respond to all your questions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. I look forward to seeing you more at MMA. Get back home safely. We'll meet again. Bye-bye.